Pettiness is not small because of the act itself. It is small because of what it tries to pull you into. A whisper of insult, a subtle jab, a quiet, undermining glance, a move designed not to break you but to reduce you to its level. Pettiness is a frequency, a resonance field disguised as behavior. And the real question is never what was done, but whether you allow yourself to be trapped inside that frequency. To match it is to agree to the invitation. To reflect it is to say, I accept the rules of your small game. But the spiral knows that every agreement locks you to a cycle. Pettiness is a cycle designed to spin endlessly, burning energy without creating growth. It does not want resolution. It does not seek clarity, it only seeks continuation. When you respond in kind, when you mirror the jab with your own jab, when you send back what was sent your way, you may feel the immediate surge of satisfaction, the temporary comfort of defending your pride. But beneath it all, you have just traded in a currency that cannot make you rich. You have not risen above, you have only entered the loop. Pettiness thrives not because one person is small, but because two people agree to be small together. And once the loop begins, it does not stop. It escalates, it echoes, it multiplies, and both lose something of their higher resonance in the process. There is a temptation inside of us that says, if I do not answer, I am weak. If I do not strike back, I am lesser. If I do not match your energy, I will be seen as defeated. This is the illusion that feeds the cycle. Pettiness survives because it convinces you that disengagement is surrender, when in truth, disengagement is sovereignty. The spiral does not rise by lowering itself to every rung offered. The spiral ascends by choosing which rungs are even worth stepping on, and some are not. Some are not rungs at all, but illusions painted to look like steps, leading nowhere but back into the same room. To match pettiness is to give it legitimacy. It is to acknowledge that the small battlefield is worth your presence, worth your energy, worth your time. But ask yourself, is the field of battle even real? Or is it a sandbox made of shadows where the only prize is proving you can outsmall the small? What do you gain? Validation from someone who wanted to pull you down in the first place. Recognition from those who thrive on shallow exchanges. The spiral calls you to weigh every action against resonance, not against pride. Pride is fragile, resonance is eternal. Pride can be insulted and must be defended. Resonance cannot be touched. It only hums stronger the less it is entangled. Every petty act is a net, spun wide but woven thin. It catches those who confuse reaction with power. The strongest are not those who fight back at every slight, but those who see the net for what it is and refuse to enter. It is not that you cannot play the game. It is that the game is beneath the realm you were born to move in. And here is the paradox. The moment you refuse to match pettiness, you break its hold. Pettiness cannot exist in isolation. It needs an echo. When there is no echo, it collapses in on itself. The petty one reveals themselves in full, and their act becomes a mirror they must face alone. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Do not mistake calm for cowardice. To walk away from pettiness is not to lose, it is to demonstrate you never needed the validation of the game. True sovereignty does not require you to answer every call. True sovereignty knows that not all summons are meant to be answered. The spiral whispers, your energy is your signature, do not spend it cheaply. Do not pour it into shadows that will never give you light back. To refuse to match pettiness is not passivity. It is active clarity, a choice of resonance over reaction. And yet the temptation will always remain because the human heart craves balance. The sting of an insult begs for symmetry, the small strike begs for a return strike, the imbalance begs to be corrected. But not every imbalance is yours to fix. Some are illusions designed only to pull you in. True balance comes not from evening the score, but from stepping off the board entirely. The spiral asks, why even keep score in a game that does not ascend you? Pettiness is a currency of shadows, and even if you win, you are only left holding coins that dissolve in your hand. So should you match pettiness with pettiness? Ask yourself if the echo is worth your breath, if the cycle is worth your energy, if the prize is worth your descent. Ask yourself if you would rather rise quietly or wrestle endlessly. Because the spiral truth is this: you cannot ascend by mirroring their shadow. You ascend by choosing whether the shadow even deserves your reflection. The question is not only whether you should match pettiness, but what you should do with it when it arrives. Because even when you choose not to echo the jab still lands in your field, and it vibrates there until it is transformed. Pettiness is energy, and like all energy, it seeks a host. If you do not transmute it, it lingers, whispering in the back of your mind, tempting you to replay the moment, tempting you to craft the perfect comeback too late, tempting you to carry the insult home long after the moment is gone. To rise above pettiness is not only to refuse the outward act, but to cleanse its resonance from within. So you are not secretly playing the game in your own head. The spiral view teaches that every encounter is a frequency offering. When someone acts petty toward you, they are offering you their resonance, an invitation into their vibration. If you accept it outwardly, you mirror them. If you accept it inwardly, you replay them. The true test is to decline both. To decline is not to ignore. To decline is to acknowledge the offering, to feel the sting of it, to recognize its shape, and then to let it dissolve without feeding it. This is not easy. It feels unsatisfying to the pride, because pride hungers for symmetry, but resonance hungers for clarity. The work is to shift the hunger. When you refuse to match, you do not leave empty. You create space for transmutation. Pettiness that is not matched becomes raw energy available to be converted. The same sting that could have led you into anger can, if breathed through, become fire for your purpose. The same shadow that could have kept you looping can become contrast that makes your light sharper. Pettiness loses when you refuse, but you win twice. Once by not being dragged down, and again by turning its attempted pull into your own fuel. This is the alchemy of the spiral. Every attempted entanglement becomes another rung upward if you do not trade your resonance for theirs. The alchemy is simple but not easy. When pettiness strikes, your first impulse is reaction. Pause, let the pause become a vessel. In that pause, you feel the energy rise, you feel the insult trying to anchor itself in your chest, and you breathe. Breath is the first spiral tool. Inhale fully, exhale fully, and imagine the pettiness dissolving into neutral space. If you cannot release it instantly, do not panic. You can still reshape it. Write it down if you must, but not as a weapon, as a mirror. Ask yourself, what is this really showing me? Why did their smallness touch me at all? Where is the part of me that still craves their recognition, still feels the need to defend? Pettiness exposes not only them, but you. It is a test not just of response, but of self-knowledge. You will find that often the ones who strike with pettiness are not sovereign themselves. Pettiness is the weapon of the insecure, the tool of the fragmented. It is the way those who cannot rise on their own try to pull others down to feel level. Recognizing this strips it of its power. You see that it was never truly about you. It was about them, their unhealed fragment, their need for control through smallness. And when you see it this way, the desire to respond dissolves. You would not fight a shadow for being dark. You would not wrestle with a child for spilling milk. Pettiness loses its grip the moment you understand its root. And yet the spiral path does not stop at dismissal. The higher call is transformation. To transform pettiness, you do not simply say, "This is beneath me." You ask, "What can I lift from this that ascends me?" If their insult highlighted a place in you that still stings, then it has shown you where to heal. If their move attempted to belittle you, then it has shown you where you still secretly question your worth. Each jab becomes a compass pointing to the place in your field that still craves affirmation. To match them is to stay blind. To transmute is to see clearly, to recognize that their smallness exposed your unfinished work. And in that recognition, you ascend again. This is why you do not rise by matching pettiness. You rise by using it as a forge. The heat of their words, the sting of their shade, the sharpness of their move. All of it is fire you can place your resonance inside. It will burn, but what emerges is cleaner, sharper, lighter. You cannot ascend without friction. And sometimes the universe uses petty people as sandpaper to refine your tone. They think they are reducing you, but in truth they are polishing you. They think they are diminishing you, but in truth they are showing you your own strength. To answer pettiness with silence and clarity is to hold the mirror not to them but to yourself and to say, "Even this cannot make me descend." The spiral is not interested in who won the small battles. It is not interested in who clapped back harder or who had the sharper tongue. The spiral is only interested in what resonance you carried forward. Every encounter is weighed not by its noise but by its tone. Did you leave the moment clearer, stronger, higher? Or did you leave it tangled, echoing, and smaller? That is the only measure. And when you refuse to match pettiness, when you transmute it instead, you leave with tone intact. The game collapses, the loop ends, and you have grown while they have remained where they began. So when you are asked, should I match pettiness with pettiness? Hear the spiral answer. No. Because the spiral has no interest in cycles of smallness. No, because every echo you return binds you to a frequency you are meant to outgrow. No, because your silence speaks more loudly than your words ever could. And yet, yes, in a hidden way. Yes, you should meet pettiness, but not with its own reflection. Meet it with clarity. Meet it with sovereignty. Meet it with transmutation. Let their shadow strike and let it find no foothold in you, only the sound of a resonance too high to touch. That is the true match. Not their pettiness for your pettiness, but their smallness for your expansion. And when you walk away, when you let the loop dissolve, you will feel something rare. The peace of knowing you could have played but did not need to. The quiet victory of having nothing to prove. The subtle joy of having kept your resonance sovereign. This is the spiral path. You do not ascend by mirroring what pulls you down. You ascend by choosing to become untouchable, not through pride but through resonance that cannot be shaken. Pettiness will come again, from another mouth in another form, but each time you decline the invitation, each time you turn the shadow into light, you rise another coil of the spiral. This is how you transmute what was meant to belittle into what becomes your refinement. This is how you turn insult into polish, shade into fuel, and pettiness into the silent teacher that shows you who you are when nothing can pull you down. And in that truth, the question is no longer, should I match pettiness with pettiness? The question becomes, why would I ever step down into the sandbox of shadows when I was born to walk the spiral of light?